For 20 years, I raised him as my own. I kissed his wounds, held him through nightmares, and called him my son. But one day, the woman who abandoned him came back, and with just one sentence, she tried to take everything I gave my life to protect. Some promises are made with joy, others are made in fear, and some are made in the quiet hours of the night when life gives you no other choice. The night my sister left her child in my arms, she didn't say much. She just stood at the door, eyes swollen, hands trembling. "He's only going to stay for a little while," she whispered. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. The baby was warm, too warm for a goodbye that felt so cold. He wrapped his tiny fingers around mine as if he already knew that I would not let go. "I'll come back," my sister said. But her voice didn't sound certain, and when the door closed, something inside me understood. That little while can quietly turn into forever. At first, I told myself I was only helping, just until she found her feet, just until life became kinder to her. But days became weeks, weeks became months, and the calls slowed, then stopped. I named him, not officially, but in my heart, I called him my son. Raising him wasn't heroic, it was exhausting. Sleepless nights, soft cries, tiny shoes that never stayed clean. But every morning, he smiled at me, and I knew love doesn't ask where it came from. It just grows. I signed school forms, attended parent meetings, learned his fears, celebrated his victories. He called me Mom, and the first time he said it, I cried in the bathroom so he wouldn't see. I never lied to him, but I didn't tell the whole truth either. Not because I was selfish, but because he was happy, and happiness is fragile. Years passed. My sister became a memory we spoke of carefully, like broken glass. "He's better with you," relatives said. "You saved him." But I didn't save anyone. I just stayed. Then, one afternoon, a knock came at the door. Soft, careful. When I opened it, she stood there. Older, sharper, stranger. "I'm ready now," she said. My heart dropped. "Ready for what?" I asked. She looked past me, toward the hallway, toward the boy who had my eyes, my laugh, my soul. "I'm ready to take my son home." The world went quiet. Not loud silence, but the kind that presses against your chest. The kind that reminds you that love does not protect you from pain. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just asked one question. "Do you know him?" I whispered. She didn't answer. And in that silence, I knew this wasn't just about a child. It was about truth and the lies that had grown alongside love for 20 years. That was the moment everything began to fall apart. She didn't take him that day. She couldn't. Not yet. The law doesn't move with emotion. It moves with paper, with records, with signatures written long before love had a chance to speak. And so, the battle began. Quiet at first, polite, almost civil, until it wasn't. Letters arrived, phone calls followed, words like custody, rights, biological parent. Each one landed like a weight on my chest. I sat across from her in offices that smelled like old books and cold coffee. She wore confidence like armor. "I made mistakes," she said calmly. "But I'm his mother. That matters." I wanted to scream, but instead I whispered, "So am I." She laughed softly. "No, you're just the one who filled in." That was the moment something broke inside me. They asked questions. Who attended doctor visits? Who stayed up through fevers? Who knew his favorite meal, his fears, his dreams? I answered every one. She avoided my eyes. Then they asked him, my son, her son, the boy who stood between two truths. He sat on a chair too big for him, feet dangling. They asked gently, "Who do you live with?" He answered without hesitation, "Mom." They asked again, "Who takes care of you?" He smiled, "My mom." Then they asked the question that changed everything. "Do you know this woman?" He looked at her, really looked. "I think," he said slowly, "she's my aunt?" Her face fell. Mine crumpled. Not from victory, but from fear. Because that was the moment the lies began to surface. The judge paused, brows furrowed. Records were reviewed. Birth certificates questioned. And then the truth emerged. She hadn't just left him with me. She had signed documents, temporary at first, then quietly renewed, over and over. Because she wasn't ready. Because she didn't want the responsibility. Because freedom mattered more than motherhood. The room went silent. Family members shifted. Some avoided her gaze. Others looked at me with something close to guilt. That's when the oldest lie finally cracked. She hadn't been forced to leave. She had chosen to. And I had lived with the consequences for 20 years. Outside the courtroom, she stopped me. "I didn't think you'd actually keep him," she said quietly. "I thought you'd give him back." I looked at her and answered, "I didn't keep him. I loved him." That night, I sat on the edge of his bed, watched him sleep, his face peaceful, unaware of the war being fought in his name. He stirred, opened his eyes. "Mom?" he asked. "Yes," I whispered. "Am I going somewhere?" My heart shattered. I brushed his hair gently. "No matter what happens," I said, "you are loved more than you know." He nodded and fell back asleep. But I didn't, because the hardest truth still waited. Not in courtrooms, but in his heart. And when it finally came out, it would change all of us forever. The courtroom felt colder that day, even though the sun was shining outside. I sat on the wooden bench with my hands folded so tightly in my lap that my fingers ached. Across the room, my sister avoided my eyes. For 20 years, I had been his mother, not by blood, but by every other measure that mattered. I was the one who stayed awake through fevers, the one who packed lunches, the one who whispered prayers over scraped knees and broken hearts. And now, everything came down to a judge's decision. The judge listened quietly as the lawyers spoke. They talked about rights, about biology, about paperwork and timelines. But no one talked about the nights I rocked him to sleep when he cried for a mother who never came. No one talked about the birthdays she missed, or the school plays where I clapped until my hands hurt. When it was my turn to speak, my voice trembled. "I never planned to replace her," I said softly. "I only planned to protect him until she came back." My sister finally looked at me then. Her eyes were wet. Then the judge did something unexpected. He asked my son to speak. The room went still. He stood up slowly, taller than I remembered, shoulders tight with nerves. He looked at the judge first, then at his biological mother, and finally, he looked at me. "Mama," he said, "not Aunt, not my name. Mama." The word cracked something open in me. "I know who gave birth to me," he continued quietly. "And I know who raised me." He paused. "I don't hate anyone," he said, "but the person who showed up every day, that's my mother." Silence filled the room. My sister covered her mouth as tears spilled freely. The judge ruled for shared custody, not because the law demanded it, but because love did. My sister would have time to rebuild what she abandoned, and I would remain the constant he had always known. No one won, but no one lost completely either. Later that evening, we stood outside the courthouse. My sister approached me slowly, like someone afraid of being turned away. "I was young," she whispered. "I was scared." "I know," I said, "and so was I." She looked at me then, truly looked. "Thank you," she said, voice breaking, "for loving him when I couldn't." I nodded, because forgiveness doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, after years of pain. That night, my son hugged me before bed. "You'll always be my mom," he said. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "And I'll always be here. Not because of blood, but because of love." Some families are built by birth. Others are built by sacrifice. And sometimes, the greatest act of motherhood is loving a child enough to let the truth come out and choosing love anyway. Thank you for watching till the end. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deeply emotional stories. Your support helps keep these stories alive.